when you're in an environment like Poughkeepsie, Newburgh, or Beacon, you know, where it's very urban, Little Hope, you know, you need those kind of people in the trenches to show them the way, as in the African, you know, tradition, and you know, with griots and storytellers and people that were mentoring and helping the young people find their way, like the rites of passage, or you know, those ritualistic things in Africa that took place. So you see that in a modern contemporary sense in Poughkeepsie or Newburgh, you know, where older gentlemen will kind of mentor to the young kids. That's what Lateef was to Poughkeepsie, to the whole Hudson Valley, you know.
He wanted to say something in his life, and he did it in his death more so than he did it in life. The fabrics, the textiles, and everything, the beige that I selected was because of the softness in him, you know. And then the pattern that I used was also the revolutionary in him.
This is what it takes. It takes a reflection of self to change others.
When I ask people who was Lateef and who really, you know, who did you really see and who did you really study when you were dealing with Lateef, you were studying or dealing with Abdul Lateef Islam. Abdul means the servant of, and Lateef was one of the best servants I ever seen. He would serve you when you thought you didn't deserve to be served. And a lot of people didn't, but he still served. With a smile on his face and a song in his heart. So Lateef means, and this is one of the most outstanding things about him, subtle spiritual energy. It don't have nothing to do with the physical world. It don't have nothing to do with what you see. It only has to do with everything you don't see.
That's right.
That's what Lateef means. And Lateef is an attribute. It is something that is attributed to God.
That's right.
It is one of the 99 attributes of God, or Allah.
That's right.
Okay, Islam. Now, we done heard a lot about Islam since 9/11. But Islam, the word Islam, or the etymology of Islam has nothing to do with what you have been given. Islam only means peace. That's what it means.
Lateef was definitely a visionary, but he's more than a visionary because he was able to have the vision and implement the work. And the work was improving our community. And I haven't seen anybody better at doing that. I said he was younger than me, but he was my mentor.
Marist College had a program. Lateef was in that program. He got his degree, and then he got a job at Marist helping other inmates get their degrees. I ran out of money, so I went to see Lateef and asked him could he help me get some money, help me get a job at Marist, because if you work there, you go to school for free. I would have cleaned toilets, whatever. But what I got was meeting this phenomenal man who couldn't help me because he could only help inmates, and obviously I was not an inmate. But we started a friendship. I went looking for one thing, got something else even greater.
At first, he came across as being quite overwhelming, intimidating. But after a while, if you sat there and really talked to him, the cadence of his voice, the quickness of his laughter with you, his making eye contact with you, and just the way he felt with his size around people, that he was able to navigate and make you feel comfortable. That after a while, you just settled in, and it was just like an old sweater you had on, and it was great.
He was like a magnet for the community, and that love of people and all those wonderful qualities that he brought. He brought the human aspect.
Really, being human, you know, it's just being human to your fellow man. You know, it's just being a human being and giving everybody else the opportunity to be a human being.
Anybody that's ever heard that laugh, it was just a roaring, gut-wrenching, just so full of life. And I mean, when he laughed, you just had, even if you didn't laugh at what was being said, you had to laugh at him laughing, because it was just so, and he would, I mean, so loud. I mean, he was a loud person anyway, but when he laughed, I mean, the room shook and the pictures trembled, and you know, no matter what was going on, didn't count anymore because it was that laugh. I mean, and again, I just love to hear it one more time.
A laugh is a sense of confidence that things will work out okay, that things will be all right, you know. And that right now, this moment has the potential of making them better. He would laugh, oh, it would echo, you know. A lot of us laugh a little bit, but it doesn't echo too far. But his laugh echoed through the whole building and the whole city, for sure.
As long as we have to come out here, we're not going to get tired of it. I'm going to bring my children out here. I'm going to bring my family out here. I'm going to bring my friends out here. I'll bring my staff out here. We're going to be out here in the streets, in your face, until you give us justice.
We started out, and of course, Lateef's voice, you know, stop the violence, stop the killing, you know. And so we would just repeat, you know, after him.
Where we had about 40 people, and we walked up and down Main Street, and Lateef would, you know, carry out with his loud voice.
The way that he was welcoming, the way that he became family, the way that he created a sense of unity, a feeling of unity, it put that other stuff aside. You left it at the door because you really couldn't come in here beating the drum of, oh, racism and that, because there's an answer here. There's a solution here.
He didn't get caught up in racial barriers. He didn't stand behind racial barriers. As a matter of fact, he pushed them open, and he allowed he allowed people to come together and discuss things.
No, being black matters, Joe. I said, well, that's in the past, Lateef. It's in the past. Anybody can make it here. This is America. We're gonna work, and we'd have these great arguments, and he got me thinking. And I would go home on the weekends, and he would call me up on the weekend. We'd start an argument or a dialogue on Thursday, continue to Friday. I'd go home, and then he'd call me up on Saturday night and say, "Are you thinking? What did you think? All right, we're going to talk about this Monday." I said, "I don't want to talk about it Monday," because I was teasing him. He would laugh, but he made me think. But after talking to him and seeing who he was, and then having many arguments, I began to see that he was right. And that screwed me up because, you know, I'm you know, down the road here with my opinions, and you know, here I am. Now I've got to rethink everything.
Hope is a very moral thing. It's almost tangible. And I think that I saw that more there than anywhere else that I'd ever been.
My favorite expression he would say over and over to me was that, you know, I don't want to hand things out. I don't want to dispense things. I don't want people saying to me, I need something, you know, here, give it to me. I want people to step up. He said, I felt in my life that I had been given an opportunity to step up out of really an abyss.
That's all it is. No one's asking to give handouts. We just have to give a hand up. That's all we're asking.
All of Lateef's successes, they all could have been even much greater had he been given certain, you know, freedom. Lateef had hard times when he was out of work. There They're out of work for various reasons, but I think one of the reasons was Lateef's style didn't always fit with the people who were writing the paycheck.
This community had a hard time with Lateef. It was, like I said before, it was a mutualistic thing. He cared for people, the community cared for him, and there were rough times in that care.
Lateef just told me off. Just told me off. It said, accused me of not helping him when I knew he wouldn't let me help him. And that was a problem. I ran to the director of the building. I was going to everybody. I went to my boss, and that day I think it just came down on me. And I went into my office, and I sat down and cried like a baby. I was heartbroken.
A few weeks before he passed away, I actually ran into him in this building, right on the, right in front of the security desk. And he said, Joel, I'm homeless. He's like, with all my connections, everything I've done, all the people I know, all the people I've helped, he died a few weeks after that. And that just, to me, is like, if that is not a supreme example of somebody falling through the cracks, what is?
What was so unique about his life, and some people might think I'm crazy to say this, he came full circle. Because he could have been a millionaire, and he winded up being broke and homeless before he passed. Why? That's the greatest message of all to us. That we're all common. We all live, we all die. All of us.
The last time I saw him, I got almost to what I still call the convict building, which is the annex. I got there, he said, yo, Jewel. I'm like, oh, Lateef, what? Here's that brother I was telling you about. He's homeless. Look at him. Look how nice he looks. He had a suit on. He was just telling me about that as we were up here. Now, they were throwing him out. He didn't have a place to go. He's sick. He's dying. And he's telling me about somebody who's dressed up, just went to an interview, and how nice he looks. Yo, Drew, you got to see him. And look how nice he put himself.
He never wanted to give that aura that he was special. He was a common man. He stayed close to earth. And when you think of all the great people that we still recognize now and from times back past, or people that always appeared as common. Jesus Christ, Moses, we could just name them, Mahatma Gandhi.
We all know that Lateef was not a saint, and people are getting this whole idea of canonization, and that's not true. This was a man who made mistakes. This was a man who got into trouble. This was a man who had a rough life. But at the same time, he was able to still turn around and give, and turn around and listen, and turn around and be involved.
Lateef, that's one thing we had in common. We believed that if you want to get something done, you had to get out there and do it. You had to be a leader. And Lateef was a leader. I don't think I'm such a leader like Lateef, but he was. Plus, he's bigger than I was anyway. He made a difference in a lot of our lives. So if somebody really want to know a lot about Lateef, they would have to look deep within their soul too. Lateef is in a lot of people's soul, mine too. Look at the picture being finished, and when everybody walking around saying, wow, that's Lateef. And when you walk in the building now, it's like a presence. It like opens up the family partnership. By having it there, everybody will remember that Lateef was the backbone of the family partnership.
The mural in the Family Partnership Center, I gotta say, in the onset, freaked me out. It's so realistic, it's so lifelike, it's so Lateef.
Because he's big, he's huge, he got a big voice, and he looks intimidating.
But when I first met Lateef, he is as majestic as his name, and it was from foot to the, to almost ceiling that you really looked at this very big presence. And when I look at the mural, it is exactly the same feel.
The more I see it, because every day he's like the first thing that greets me in the morning
outside of security. So I feel like he hasn't left. He's still here, his spirit.
Many people try to do these things that Lateef did. He did it in a much grander way. But if we can do this, you know, a lot more in smaller ways, you know, I have hope for the city of Poughkeepsie that we can change things.
We have this thing in our midst called the Family Partnership Center that we will forever associate with him and his being here. And because this is like this is our springboard.
And he wanted to let us all know it was time for him to pass his torch to us, that we're going to have to pick up the ball.
And I'm not going to let that legacy die. And I think if each one of us take that approach, that I'm not going to let it die, because I can't speak for the community, but I know I can speak for me. I'm not going to let the legacy that he left me die.
This is history. History in Dutchess County, greatest county in the world, in the city of Poughkeepsie. Lateef made history, and we made history with him.
You know, he always dropped knowledge. They call dropping seeds. You know, I'm gonna drop a seed, drop this knowledge on you, your history, or you know what's going on in your community. Educate them in a sense.
That's why Law loved me. That's what Law saw in me. You understand? He didn't want me busy selling kilos when I could be building Malcolms, building Rosa Parks, building Corettas. This is where we gotta go.